This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be seen.
Yeah, nice to. Did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Yeah, what'd you do?
What did I do?
You have a new deck.
I do.
Did you?
But
do
it was
something?
a little chilly for sitting out there and a little rainy.
Not with a little coffee.
Well, I did a little bit.
Surely there's a covered portion of this new
what'd
deck.
I
You
do?
splurged a little bit.
I hit a few tennis balls and watched a little NCAA.
Yeah, and you picked a new basketball coach for the Razorbacks.
I made that selection. I did.
Did
yes.
you?
Yeah. I have no idea who the guy is. I don't know anything about him.
But
Do you?
You're looking forward to tweeting about it, though.
Okay. I tweet to troll Razorback fans, just so that's clear. And my tweet that great pick by the Hogs, surprised a guy would step down from Nevada to Arkansas. I didn't mean that. I was just trying to upset people. And guess what?
Nevada, if you're from
Nevada, I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I used to write for the Las Vegas.
Do you think he's going to have
Usual.
trouble saying Nevada County?
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. Not as much trouble as I have saying Nevada for a state. So when I said his Muscleman was stepping down to Arkansas, I didn't mean that. I was just trying to bug people, and they were bugged. Success.
I was about to say.
I mean, that's the other thing
Mission
I did.
accomplished.
What did I do this weekend? I played a few tennis balls, watched some basketball, and bugged some people.
There you go.
Good weekend.
All right, you had a good column in Sunday's Democrat-Gazette.
Well, thank you.
Thought-provoking and certainly conversational, conversation-stirring, and that's where I want to begin today.
Well, excellent, excellent. I'm glad it met those specifications in your view.
One of the quotes from early on in the piece, quote, "Voters have never demonstrated philosophical consistency." What are you insulting Arkansas voters for like that?
Have not an insult. It's just an objective, loving critique. That's what that is.
Okay.
I mean, Arkansas people have long made very little sense in terms of broad consistency in what they do. The one thing that they are is populist. They're for the little guy, you know, they're the working man. But that's never been reflected, since I've been covering it, in their selection of between candidates, because we have become, Arkansas has always been so stridently, predictably pro-incumbent, whether it was the Democrats who were the incumbents, or now the Republicans, or judges because they have judge before their name. And it's a dichotomy, and it is the inconsistency that makes Arkansas such an charmingly eccentric place.
Let me throw a couple of examples of what you're talking about here. So populist on issues like they will pass minimum wage,
Right.
they will pass term limits, for instance, is a pretty populist issue. Medical,
anything to take on the man.
marijuana.
Right, right.
At the same time, they'll re-elect Mike Beebe and Mike Ross in the same year that they would elect Rick Crawford and Tim Griffin on the Republican side as newcomers there.
Right.
Or throw out Blanche Lincoln, who was the chair of the Agriculture Committee because of her Obamacare vote.
Right, exactly.
These are the things that you're talking about.
Exactly, and
Make them
I don't
eccentric.
mean I don't mean it so much as an insult. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm just saying they're odd. We're odd, and we're an odd state. And of course, the context of that was that it's all being played out in the legislative
Well, let's
session.
talk about that, because you got a conservative legislature, some would say an ultra-conservative legislature, and you do have this populist streak here, and there seems to be some contradiction in public policy that these conservative legislators are making against the will of what the voters have passed, medical marijuana, minimum wage being two.
Right. Yeah, so it gives us this strange dynamic in that very conservative Republican neo-right legislators get elected handsomely and traipse down to Little Rock, and when they get here, they set about trying to undo what the will of the voters was on issues. The same voters who voted them in so smartly, according to these legislators, cannot be trusted on some of these issues because of this very dichotomy I'm talking about. They'll vote for incumbents because they just get in a habit of voting either R or D, currently R, but on specific issues, they will do things that these conservative legislators are saying, we can't do this. Surely the voters of Arkansas didn't mean that mom and pops out here have got to pay this higher minimum wage. Surely they didn't want to put mom and pop out of business. So we're going to go to town, we're going to go to Little Rock, and we're going to undo that, or try to undo it. And there was more sentiment for that than you might imagine. There was wide sentiment for it. But the governor, and in this column, somewhat in hyperbole, a little bit snarky, I refer to him as a semi-sane influence on the legislature. He's more than semi-sane, he's quite sane. Just for the record, but he tends to temper that with a little adult supervision, like on the hog farms and on minimum wage, and even on the Confederate flag, which he didn't try to pass. He just took a position. So that's the dynamic that's happening, and it has conservative legislators praising the voters for choosing them and being conservative, but then trying to undo the populist, progressive things that they do on specific issues.
I'll give you another example. Medical marijuana was passed in 2016. It's 2019, and we still don't have.
Do you think there is some foot dragging that's reflected in philosophical resistance?
Foot dragging might be part of it.
Okay, I'm asking you this. I mean, are you saying that the fact that it hasn't happened yet is simply procedural morass and the difficulty of it, or does it reflect a little passive aggression among these conservative policymakers? I think the latter is a factor. Other states have moved much more quickly, and we're not more inept than other states.
We spent an entire legislative session last session debating all of the policy that was going to go around that medical marijuana implementation, right. And there was obviously a system set up, but the state was not really prepared to execute.
Well, it wasn't prepared,
and implement it as quickly as it could.
Was it passively, aggressively unwilling to be prepared? I think it's somewhat the latter.
And we've still seen some legislation this session regarding it too.
Right, right, and that's just what we're seeing. Somebody put on the social media the day after the recent election, Arkansas, your liberal skirt is showing, is what somebody said, which I thought, you're out here thinking that you're conservative, you just overwhelmingly voted for Trump, you overwhelmingly voted for every conservative Republican in sight, but you just raised the minimum wage, which is a decidedly progressive, populist progressive, some would say, liberal notion, and you just approved casinos, which is permissive. That's the other thing. Conservatism of sort of a modern moralizing conservatism sort of resists sin, and yet the Arkansas voters given a chance. Sure, if the man wants to go, take his last few dollars and wager on it, sure, if that's what they want to do. So it's this whole situation in which Ballinger and Bob Ballinger and Robin Lundstrom and very conservative legislators, fully representative in a way of the support they have in their districts, are actually on some issues resistant to the people who elect them having their say. And it's just an Arkansas thing. I put in this column, 1968, George Wallace for president, J. William Fulbright for U.S. Senate, Winthrop Rockefeller for governor. Racist, populist demagogue for president, an independent-minded intellectual Democrat for the U.S. Senate, and a liberal transplanted rich New Yorker for governor.
Republican.
That's Arkansas.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've had a 1968 election, but it happens in microcosms all over the place.
I can't remember.
I was 3.
Yeah. Well, you were keeping up.
How about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's talk about, finally on this note here, there's 2 ballot referrals that have come out in this legislative session. One is going to be to extend term limits, all the time calling it term limits as if we're putting them in place for the first time. And the other is going to make it harder to get some of these ballot measures on in terms of the threshold. So let's talk about just the seeming contradiction of the term limits thing first and foremost. We have term limits already.
We do.
They've been extended a bit liberally, but the term limits people are coming from out of the woodwork to curtail that. Therefore, the legislature wants to put a different term limits in place.
Right. The national term limits people, the strict term limits people, were coming last session and got thrown off the ballot. What was it? Signature insufficiencies or something? I forget
they
what
didn't meet the threshold there.
Well, so early in the session, it became apparent that the legislature wanted to do its own term limits proposal, which is not so much term limits, certainly not for them, it takes effect for newly elected legislators, and then lets you, even then, complete your terms.
Got to take a 4-year
hiatus and come back. So it is a term limits amendment exempting the current legislators. And it's entirely self-serving and defeats the spirit of term limits. It's basic, but it's trying to get out there and capture the brand of term limits and muddy the waters and maybe preempt what may be coming that would be strictly term limited. And it's just self-perpetuation. Principles of term limits aside, the point of that is self-perpetuation. It's not just that these people are the voters out there are smart enough to elect me, but not smart enough to do my job. That's sort of the way I put it in Sunday's column. That's what these people seem to be thinking. So I've got to stay here to save them from themselves. And if we don't give them this option, Lord, they're liable to limit our terms in such a way that we might have to stop collecting these per diems and stop coming down here to save the state. There's a tremendous arrogance to that proposal, and it is a purely tactical proposal. Its ballot title should not be term limits, it should be political tactics amendment, because that's what they're trying to do.
You just probably will guest star in a term limits commercial as a result of that statement right there.
Whatever you people can do with my ramblings, whatever they wish.
All right. So on the one that changes some of the, I guess, the parameters for how you get something to qualify on the ballot through a citizens initiative process there, I don't have a problem with moving up the deadlines for doing that. I do think it is unfair for these things to get kicked off the ballot at the 11th hour by the Supreme Court, and that just happens because of the way that a lawsuit can get filed. But nonetheless, the thresholds for passage, no cure period, triple the number of counties you got to get stuff from.
You got to do your minimum, not just in 15 as now, but 45.
I've had it described to me this way, though. The people that professionally run these types of citizens initiatives, that it's just going to cost them more money, but they'll figure out how to get it done. They do this in states all over the country. So will it really be a deterrent, I guess?
Maybe, maybe not. Or David Couch and his smart operation, they may come up with a competing ballot initiative to make it even easier, and get more votes than this one, which would be ironic, wouldn't it? While the legislature's trying to make it harder, they don't have it. They can't make it harder until they pass it, and in the very election when they're trying to pass it, here comes something to make it easier that beats it. Wouldn't that be a hoot? I would enjoy the irony of that. I've got a confession on this issue.
Okay.
Years ago, when California was passing, California's been afflicted by these propositions, which has really messed up their government, their ability to govern in a Republican representative way, I should say, not Republican. And then David Broder, the late David Broder, a great columnist for the Washington Post, wrote a book about the perils of direct democracy, and there was too many of these things. You can, if you want to go research my columns, I have said it's entirely too easy in Arkansas to get these things on the ballot. I have, and we're gonna wind up a little bit like California, and we need to make it harder. I have no problem with making it harder. I have no problem with the expedited schedule is actually good for everybody. No cure period. Like if you submit a number of signatures, and some of them can't be verified, and then a number is thrown out to get you below the threshold, that you can't then have a period to go get some more. I think the thinking is a lot of these people just throw in bogus names to get over so they can buy more time. That offends me less, I must admit. The whole concept of making it more difficult offends me less than this legislature, contemptuous of the people who elect it, trying, while once exempting themselves from their bogus term limits amendment, trying to limit the ability of the people to pass things for the very reason that they just don't like the people doing things that they would object to. So it's a matter of timing and circumstance. The particulars of this measure, the only single provision of this that I find maybe too rigid is you got to go, the signature requirement of 15 counties going to 45. But as you say, people with enough money and enough intelligence in the system will still get things on the ballot. It's the timing of it, and it's off Sunday.
Confessions of John Brummett is the new subtitle of the column. I've just given it right there.
Well, All of them are confessions in a way.
Give it a read if you get a chance.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right. Good to be with you. That is all for today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.